In the city of Isfahan, where mosque domes shone with turquoise and narrow alleys were filled with the scent of saffron and spiced wine, there lived a master woodcarver named Farid ibn Rashid. His hands could turn simple wood into wonders, carved panels, ornate boxes, and lutes admired even in the Shah's palace. But people valued him not only for his craft. They came to Farid for his counsel. His words were calm like the water in an old well, and clear like the desert stars at night. One evening, a young merchant named Jafar entered his workshop. His face was weary, his gaze unsettled. He bowed deeply and said, "Master, I no longer know how to live. People pull me in every direction. One asks for help, another for promises, a third for my time and attention. I fear to refuse anyone, but the more I give, the less of me remains. What am I doing wrong?" Farid listened, then thought for a while. At last, he took from a chest 3 wooden caskets. One was of pale cypress, plain and austere. The second was decorated with ivory and mother of pearl. The third was dark walnut, carved with deep patterns, as if it contained a hidden forest. "In these 3 caskets," the master said, "I keep what must never be given away. Do you wish me to tell you about them?" "I do," Jafar replied. Farid touched the first, the cypress box, and opened it. Inside lay a red carnelian stone, smooth and warm, as if alive. "This is the heart," said the master. "When I was young, I had a friend named Sammy. He fell passionately in love with a girl from a wealthy family. He gave her all his heart. For her, he stopped tending the market stall he once owned. For her, he abandoned his father's craft. He stopped meeting friends, stopped living his own life. He lived only for her desires." Jafar frowned. "And what happened?" "She grew used to his presence," Farid continued. "But in her eyes, he ceased to be a man. His love became her chains, and his devotion her boredom. One day she left him for another. Sammy was left with nothing, no trade, no family, not even himself." The master fixed his gaze on the youth. "Do you see, my son? The heart may be shared but never surrendered entirely. If it ceases to belong to you, you become a slave to another's will." Jafar sighed, remembering how often he had sacrificed his own plans to please others, and always felt empty afterward. Then Farid opened the second casket, the one with ivory mosaic. On its velvet lining rested a quill upon a scroll. "This is the word," he said. "Years ago, a merchant named Abbas came to me. He was clever with speech, always making promises. 'I'll repay tomorrow. I'll deliver in a month. Trust me, just wait.' His words were sweet as honey, and people believed him. But his promises multiplied until he was tangled in them like a bird in a net. His word became empty. No one trusted him anymore. Even when he spoke truth, no one listened. His trade collapsed, and he left the city in disgrace." Farid leaned closer to Jafar. "Remember this. A word is a rope that ties you to others. Promise only what you can fulfill. Otherwise, their hands will pull on that rope until it snaps, along with your honor." Jafar shuddered, recalling how he had recently promised a fellow trader goods he did not yet possess. Now he understood the trap he had set for himself. Finally, Farid placed his hand on the dark walnut casket and slowly opened it. Inside was a small mirror in a simple bronze frame. It reflected Jafar's face, and the young man flinched. "In this casket," said the master, "is the soul." He was silent for a moment, then spoke again. "In my youth, I knew a man named Khosrow. He dreamed of being a singer. His voice was pure as a mountain stream, but his family mocked him. 'That is not serious, go trade instead.' His friends laughed. 'Sing if you must, but not so loudly, it embarrasses us.' He feared their judgment, and day by day he sang less. Years later I met him again. He had become a wealthy merchant, but in his eyes there was no light. He had lived for others' approval, and his soul had faded." The master looked intently at Jafar. "The soul is your path, your inner fire. If you hand it over to the opinions of others, you will cease to be yourself." Jafar froze. How often had he changed his decisions out of fear of mockery or disapproval? Farid closed the 3 caskets and said, "Here are 3 things, my son. The heart, the word, and the soul. If you give them away, you lose everything. Share generously the fruits of your work, help those who strive, but never surrender these 3. The heart is your foundation. The word is your honor. The soul is your life. Jafar sat in silence for a long time. At last he bowed and left. That night he could not sleep. He counted his promises, thought of those for whom he had lived, and for the first time he realized there was something within him that must never be given away. From then on, he became careful with his words, cautious with promises, and more certain of his own path. And the 3 caskets of Farid remained in his memory forever, as guardians of what makes a man truly himself.